guys, it's me, and today we're going to be talking about symbolism. Now, some of you guys did just completely ignore these notes, and I don't know why, because it's really interesting. Now, the meaning beyond the obvious. Symbols are actually, well, they're objects that we endear with more meaning than they have. So that means meanings beyond the obvious. A visual symbol is a picture is used to stand for an idea. Example, a dove equals peace, or the little swish means Nike. Now, a symbol. It can be an image which represents something other than itself. In other words, when you see something tangible, it represents something intangible. We're going to get to those in a second. But for instance, if you take a look at each one of these, we understand what they mean. The Republican Party, ABC, toxic. Of course, we have the entire and rather creepy, for some reason, the recycle symbol always messes with me. Then for kicks and giggles, we have such things as poison, Canada. These are things that we know. Now, this creates a direct and meaningful link between the two things. It's really hard once a culture accepts a symbol for that to become a symbol of anything else. But it has happened in history. For instance, the swastika. The swastika actually has some very real meaning in the Buddhist religion, but once it was utilized as the Nazi symbol in World War II, they literally decided never to use the symbol again and actually went to great lengths to remove it and its iconography from all of their temples, meaning literally people went out into the middle of nowhere to chisel off swastikas. Once a symbol is ingrained, it's very hard for it to be uningrained or to have it covered over. Now, this means that a specific object, scene, character, action, picture takes on an idea of an abstract idea or values or a person. So the swastika became a symbol of hate instead of a symbol of peace and therefore had to be removed. When you use something tangible, concrete, touching it, you can touch it, to represent something that is intangible, something you cannot touch. For instance, the symbol of the woman blindfolded holding the scales means justice. You can't touch justice. Unless that's a person's name, and that's creepy. Don't touch justice. But these are things that you cannot normally hold in your hand. So tangible things are things that you can touch, that are real in real time. Intangible are things that you cannot touch, like respect, affection, wishes, romance, disdain. Now, again, we're going to take something that is physical, that we can see and touch, and we are going to make it mean something that we cannot touch. Common symbols. Now, especially for literature, river and water are extraordinarily powerful symbols. They can mean anything from mystery to rebirth to death, like the river Styx. So water has an extraordinarily broad symbolistic nature and can be used in many different ways. Walking through tunnels and coming out from the dark into the light, of course, is rebirth and renewal. Storms can be anything from a destruction of the old and a repowering of the new to literally just setting a mood and it meaning something ominous or bad. A dawn almost always is a rebirth or renewal. Of course, then we have the beating of the heart. In Poe's Telltale Heart is, of course, guilt. In the lottery, Mr. Graves is the authority over the killing. So literally, Charles Dickens did this a lot. A lot of his characters' names had something to do with the character's personality. For instance, we see this a lot in Hunger Games. Katniss is a beautiful flower that grows in mud. We have Gale, who, of course, is a wind and is a type of ferocious wind power. So we have this entire idea that he is something that is dangerous yet necessary in nature. And of course, Peta is a type of bread. These things really are important. Now, how many symbols, meanings can you identify? Now, and this you should be able to identify a great deal. Now, almost everything might have a personal significance and or a cultural significance. Now, of course, we have personal symbols, things that we take in as ourselves, as something that we see represents us. But we're looking more for a cultural significance. So, for instance, if we take a look at I want to say cufflinks, isn't that terrible? Handcuffs. Take a look at handcuffs. Some people might see that as justice. Some people might see that as imprisonment. So it really depends on which culture you are going to subscribe to. And then, of course, colors. You need to be very, very careful when it comes to color because color in your culture might have a very vast different significance than in others. For instance, white is really, really interesting. In China, bridal dresses are red because that's the color of happiness. And white is actually worn for mourning when someone has died. So our American culture having a woman walk in a white wedding dress would be seen as to be like bad luck to the Chinese because they're sitting there going like, why are you dressed in a death dress, man? So remember, color, especially in significance, has different variations depending on where in the world you are. What kind of image would symbolize you? So you guys get to pick your own personal symbol. This is going to be a little bitty assignment for the very end. You guys are going to copy and paste a image from Google onto a Word doc, and then